You know, I walk down the street with my kid and he's in a stroller, and people will say, oh, your son is so cute, he's adorable, look at him, look at that face, look at those cheeks. This Father's Day, I'll be thinking about the fact that these same folks who are saying these things might not necessarily and likely won't see him in the same way when he's older. You know, so many black parents wrestle with wanting their children to have this full and vibrant childhood, but also recognizing that what it means to be a young white kid running around with a water gun is not the same of what it means to be a young black child running around with a water gun. Tamir Rice is the case study in that, you know, and when I saw what happened to Tamir, I saw so much of what my parents feared, you know, that this child was playing with a toy gun in a park, wasn't standing near anyone else. And that police shot him within 2 seconds and then pulling up. You know, if we think about the environment or climate change, you don't go to a 4-year-old and say, you know, Indonesia and Myanmar are going to be underwater within the next 25 years, and, you know, the polar ice caps are going to melt and all the polar bears and penguins are going to die, right? You don't say that to a 4-year-old. What you say is, it's important to recycle. It is important to turn the water off when when you brush your teeth. So you scaffold the conversation in a way that's age appropriate, and I think that we can and should do the same with conversations about racism. Lots of parents have different iterations of the same conversation, but I think they're necessary, right? And that part of the balance that you want to find is, how do you communicate to your child the very real dangers and potential consequences while also attempting to convince your child and make sure that they know that it's not their fault. Because I think the fear is that a parent communicates these things to their child in an effort to protect them, and then the child internalizes that as there being something sort of inherently wrong with who he or she is. Okay. You know, this collection is attempting to sort of wrestle with what I call the marathon of cognitive dissonance that it is to grow up as a young black person in this country. And so how does one, you know, in my case, grow up in a home in which you feel loved, affirmed, and celebrated, and then constantly go out into a world in which you are rendered a caricature of someone else's fear? What the cicada said to the black boy: I've seen what they make of you, how they render you a multiplicity of mistakes. They have undone me as well, pulled back my shell and feasted on my flesh, claimed it was for their survival. And they wonder why I only show my face every 17 years, but you're lucky if they let you live that long. I could teach you some things, you know. Have been playing this game since before you knew what breath was. This here is prehistoric. Why you think we fly? Why you think we roll in packs? You think these swarms are for the fun of it? I would tell you that you don't roll deep enough, but every time you swarm, they shoot. Get you some wings, son. Get you some wings.